Welcome to another social sports entertainment show. Today, we are live from the Sundance Film Festival. We are chatting with Academy Award nominees and Emmy Award-winning directors Sean and Andrea Fine. This is an interesting one. They've got a documentary, According to Sam, Life According to Sam. Now, this is something that a lot of people are not familiar with, progeria. It's a disease that, on the average age of death, progeria, most kids die at the age of 13 because they age. But on this situation, Sam Berns has now lived to 16. An amazing story. First, I'm always curious, how did you find out about this story? What inspired you to tell this story? And how long have you been working on it? Those are three quick questions off the top, right? And welcome to the show. This is your first Google Hangout, correct?
It's our first. This is very exciting. I'm very impressed by this whole operation. Thank you, Chris.
Absolutely. So tell us how you heard about the story and what inspired you to do this documentary.
Well, how we really heard about the story is through the Progeria Research Foundation, through Audrey and Leslie and Scott and Sam. I think they started to get a bunch of news outlets and different people started to approach them to tell their story. And I think they wanted to do it in a different way than just kind of like a quick news piece. So they started to research people to make a film on them. And they hired someone named Miriam Weintraub, who's a producer on the film. And she's a friend of ours and asked us about it and said, hey, would you guys like to meet them? And we said yes. And so we met them at a Chili's outside of Foxborough. And it was a pretty unbelievable meeting, and we sat down there with the whole family. But Sam, who was 13 at that time, really, Andrea says it, he kind of led the meeting. And he said to us, the first thing he said to us is, I don't want you guys to make a film about, I don't want you to make a film where people feel sorry for me. That was the first thing he said. And that really
okay.
Yeah, and that really inspired us. And then what was the other thing that you said?
And this is 3 years ago?
Yeah. I think this is a little over 3 years ago, I guess now. And Sam was very much also before we left. He said, I think we're just all going to be friends here, and that's like an understatement because I feel like from our standpoint, Sean and I are married and we have kids, and we're very we feel very powerful about the family element of the story. It really connected with us, and it's 3 years later we feel very, honored to be able to, share this story with everybody else and have it make the same impact, to an audience as it did when we first met them.
Right. And how long have y'all been in the film industry? You've probably done. Tell people how many films you've done and why this one. I bet you it inspired you more than other ones. And why did it touch you so much?
We've been making films probably about 15 years. I mean, I think our work is most notable. We made a film called War Dance that was nominated back in 2008, right? And then we have another film right now, Innocente, that's nominated this year. And, we've done lots of different interesting stuff like National Geographic and other outlets. And we really just started moving closer to making theatrical films. We really enjoyed that. And I think really
what grabbed us about this is Sam. I mean, the story itself is an amazing story, but I think Andrea and I, we like telling stories that sometimes people think they know on the surface, and then when they start to actually listen, it completely flips them out and changes their perception of what they think. And what you think, I think a lot of people have done. I mean, there are some films on kids with progeria, and sometimes they are feel sorry for the kid that's sick film, and you just watch the kid and they talk a little bit, but then mostly adults talk about it and talk about the average age of death and things like that. But instead, what we were excited about was the chance to actually have Sam tell this story, to hear from him. What's it feel like, to go to school? What are you excited about? What do you think about life? And he has a remarkable outlook on life. And I think that really excited us. I mean, we also are very excited always. The last 3 films we've done have been about kids, and so we're always excited to hear what kids have to say because we feel that oftentimes we don't stop and listen to what kids have to say anymore, and what they have to say is pretty remarkable. And in Sam's case, it's some of the most remarkable stuff we've ever heard a kid say. So it really that really drove us to tell this story.
Okay. All right. We're going to start opening this up to the audience. This thing moves quickly. We got a 30-minute show here. We're already 15 minutes in. We may sometimes go over time. I don't want to keep y'all too long. But Monica has a question for you. Monica, go ahead.
Yeah. So one of the things that seems most intriguing about your subject matter is the very young age of the child, and people have a really difficult time talking about death, and the fact that it is such a severe illness. How do you approach that when you're dealing with that subject matter?
I think, it's a good question. I think that when it comes to really trying to figure out what this film was about, yes, there is an element of the film which is about, young children facing mortality before anybody's ever expected to think about that, and I felt like the family very thoughtfully considers some of these ideas, but at the same time, what really this film is much more about than those ideas is, I think, how there's a fierce push to live life to its fullest. I mean, that is really where time and time again their brains and hearts were, and I think that when you come into the story, you have this perception that these kids and these parents sit around thinking, oh my gosh, I have X many years left, what do I do with that? And I think, of course, with every family, it's a personal decision how they end up talking with another, but I feel like what seemed to come up time and time again was just the fierce, commitment to living a very natural, a normal life. Let Sam go through school, be his friends, and of course be watching out for him, but not really looking at that. And I think as Sam is getting a little bit more mature, his ideas are getting more mature about what he wants to think about and what he's ready to talk about. And I think this film was sort of the beginning of that conversation to some extent. But I also feel like who knows what's going to happen now with the drug treatment trials, that I think everybody's really forward looking.
Right. So I just want to jump in too, because
we wanted to introduce you. Go ahead and introduce yourself as well.
Okay, sure. I'm Audrey Gordon. I'm the president and executive director of the Progeria Research Foundation. I suppose more importantly is I'm Sam's aunt, and I'm also the sister of Sam's mom, Leslie Gordon. And the story also chronicles her intense work as a researcher for treatments and a cure for progeria. So it's really, and her life as a mom, and how incredibly devoted and passionate she is about both of those things, about living life to its fullest with her family, with her husband and her child, and also trying to save these kids.
Wow, great. This is very inspirational. We appreciate y'all coming on. This is awesome. Okay, Jill's got a question for you. Jill, go ahead.
Hi, everybody. I'm Jill with the Hounds and Heroes Foundation. We're huge supporters of the progeria community and progeria research, and I'm so happy to be here. And I first want to thank you, Sean and Andrea, for making this film and sharing Sam's story with all of us, because for those of us who want to support and bring more awareness to the cause, because I think that's key. Awareness is key. People are fearful. They don't understand, and now you've given us this amazing platform to be able to show all of the outside communities what progeria is. So thank you so much. I think it's outstanding what you've done. I have a very personal question for you. I am the mother of a special needs young man. He's 18 years old, and he has recently also found his voice through his own platform of autism, and I watched him go through this metamorphosis of finding his self-confidence and really becoming empowered. And I wanted to ask you if through the course of the filming and Sam opening up his life so selflessly to all of us, did you see him go through positive changes and also experience a more positive and self-promotion of himself?
Yeah, definitely. We started when he was 13, so he matured just tremendously by the time he was 16. He actually, in the last interview when he was 16, he said, I have 5 things I want to tell you, and all 5 of those are in our film, and they're all fantastic, and we didn't even have to ask him a question. So he had been thinking about it. I think there was a big turning point, too. We invited Sam to come watch one of our screenings of our film Innocente in New York. And so he came and was in the audience, and he saw Innocente go up and do questions and answers, and he saw the reaction of the crowd.
And just to explain, Innocente is almost exactly Sam's age by like a year or so, difference.
And he knew we were making the film at the same time, and I think he saw the power of the film and how it affected the audience. And he said, we were all going out to celebrate, and his mom and him said that, we really want to go with you guys. We invited them, and they came out with us, and Sam kept tugging on Andrea and I and saying, I really want to talk to you guys. It's very important. And we actually thought, oh man, he's nervous now seeing himself up on the screen. He saw this girl on the screen.
But it was the opposite.
But it was the opposite. He said, I realize now the power of this and what it can do, and he's like, I'm ready to go even further, like 150%. I'm ready to go in there and talk more. And I think that was a big turning point for him.
Okay, Kempton's gonna have a question, but I got one I want to toss out to you first. Is film directors and makers, what I love about documentaries, and I'm just curious as documentary makers, as someone like a Spielberg, he's already got his storyline, it's done, he creates it, he already knows the ending. Okay, as a documentary, the story evolves and changes. You don't know what the ending is. Is that exciting to you? Is that why you do that?
It's exhausting.
I think I don't know. I think
I nailed it. I nailed that.
Doing that is not always. We don't just sort of like jump in and say, hey, let's do this film. Generally, and maybe some people do, but that's both very scary and sometimes financially like not possible. To do that with budgets and things, but. We come in with a plan to break. I mean, we're very much like what attracts us to documentaries and the amazing stories that we tell, and you have to have a beginning, a middle, and the end of a story most times. So we go in knowing that, and I think that's what was tricky about this, because we always saw the end of the scientific publication results of what they found in the drug trial using this new experimental drug with these kids as the end of the story is when those results came out. But what became interesting is that we thought the whole thing would be finished in a year, but ultimately it took 3 years. So that whole process that you brought up of where is this going and how is it going to go very much was part of what we all went through.
So it's almost a mystery to you as well, in a way.
Mm-hmm. Oh, very much. I mean, no one knew what the results were going to be. Actually, including Leslie, quite honestly, when we met her, they were still crunching the numbers. We learn a lot when we make a film. That's one of the things I love about what we do. And I think when I met Leslie, I thought, oh, she knew it was a big secret. She knew all the results of these kids. And the actuality is that when you're still statistically crunching the numbers, she doesn't even know. And so that was a reveal for her as well as where this all ended up.
Okay. Kempton, go ahead, buddy.
Yeah. So my question, I come from a filmmaker's background. So my question is this: when you guys were filming, Sam, or making the film, were there moments that you actually had to put away your camera, or turn off the audio, and not film it? And also, when you're during the editing process, are there scenes or clips that you really want to use, but because of privacy, whatever reason that you decide, nah, it's great, but we don't want to use it? Tell us more about that.
Yeah. So Kempton, I'm also the cinematographer on the film, and so it's a very intimate relationship with like filming Sam and his family, because it's a very small crew and we're right there. And there are many times where the camera was down. I mean, that was straight from the beginning. We sat down and said, if you don't want us to film something, let us know, and I'll put the camera away. And especially with Sam, we developed a kind of communication where we just kind of he could give me a look, and I kind of knew to put it away. And it's not easy. It was hard. There were a lot of shots, a few scenes where I did not want us to do that, but I did because we made an agreement, and it turned out better because we developed a better sense of trust, and I got things later on that I wouldn't have got had I done that, and that's the way we always work.
And yes, there are scenes that I absolutely feel very strongly about that they just sometimes just can't fit within your story structure. But there are these little moments or these little scenes that you always will love or feel really strongly about. And especially after filming 3 years, we have a few of those. Yeah.
Okay,
bonus
be honest
DVD.
on this, because I've always been curious. Go ahead. Okay, I've always been curious about this too. You can't be emotionally tied. Your job is to document and to follow this. But let's be honest. You're human. You're involved. You're emotionally involved in this. Was there ever a moment where you get emotionally tied in while you're filming and it's hard to do your job?
Yeah, I mean, you cannot be emotionally involved, and I don't think if a filmmaker said that, then I don't think they're doing the right film, because you have to be. You have to put your heart into it as well as your craft, and if you put your heart and your craft into it, it comes out better, and that's, I think, reflective in all of our films, and especially this one. That doesn't mean, you know, that doesn't mean we're gonna take out some parts that might be difficult for Sam or his family to watch. I mean, we're always gonna tell the best story, so that's always gonna happen, and they knew that, and we always talked about that. But at the same time, I mean, we feel extremely close to these guys, and
yeah, I don't know, quite honestly, I don't know how to do that. I know there's people that are able to make films like that, and I feel like sometimes that's fine for them and it makes a very different kind of film. I feel like sometimes I'm watching a film where I'm looking at someone through a microscope or under glass, but there's a distance there, and I feel like you see it in the way people talk to the person. And I don't know, I feel like I want to be treated, I treat people the way I'd want to be interviewed, or I'd want to be considered, and because of that, I feel like there's just no way to not have a relationship with people and friendships with people, and especially when you're involving people who are children. Well, you know, so we've become very close with our subjects.
And I just want to say, I mean, this film is going to make after Sundance, it will be in other festivals around the country, and is scheduled for a broadcast on HBO later in the year.
That's great.
I hope everybody gets to see this film. It's just, the audience reaction has been phenomenal. People love it. I've been speaking to people before and after the film and getting their reactions, and we're going to post everything up online. And our website is progeriaresearch.org, and we'll have lots more information. And I'd love for you all to follow this. It's just, you know, it's not just us saying this. It's a wonderful film. Sean and Andrea are so talented. They've surrounded themselves with a talented team, and the product is just tremendous. You will laugh and you will cry, but the tears will be happy. Yeah. It's a very uplifting and inspiring film.
Awesome. Well, I think you're doing a great job. I love this story. Jairus, you got a question?
Yes, I do. Since this kind of segues into some of the last conversation that we were having, how much time is Sam spending in the hospital at this point in time? And since we've been talking about privacy issues, how have you been filming in the hospital, and how does that affect filming in a so-called private situation?
Well, I'll address Sam. Sam he's in this clinical drug trials, and he just goes into the hospital for a few days at a time. He doesn't even have to stay overnight, but he goes in once every few months for testing and to receive a new drug supply. So that's the extent of his hospital stays. And Sean and Andrea can address the filming in the hospital.
We never just show up to any environment like that and just start filming. It's painstakingly, you know, communicated of what we're doing, and there's releases that everybody signed for the children, the parents, the hospital staff to just be on the location. Anybody who appears in the film signs a release of consent, and that starts with the administration of that hospital environment or school environment, all the way down to every single face you see in there. It's a huge behind-the-scenes thing that happens in these cases.
Okay, great. All right, we're going to make sure everyone asks a question, which I love. Carrie has not got one. Carrie, you're up to bat.
Okay.
Or maybe bat is a bad word. You're from NHL. You're you're up for the shot. There we go.
What do you think in terms of Sam's reaction to the film and thoughts going forward? I know he viewed it and he liked it, but how's he feeling with it in terms of being out there and the status of the disease? It's more so for Audrey.
I think it's a good question for Sam in a way, but if we had to guess what his response would be, is that, you know, this film was finished just 4 days before we came to Sundance, and they only saw it like 1 week prior to that. And Sam did have a really positive reaction to the film. He came and he said it was awesome, and it just felt so real. He was really appreciative about how the story and his parents and relationship, and even how progeria was treated within the film. He said it was very respectful, and he just felt strongly about it.
Yeah, and we were able to bring Sam in by Skype for one of the showings, and the whole audience erupted in applause and cheers for him.
Oh, wow.
He was so excited. And then they asked him a lot of questions. He loved it, you know, sort of went back and forth. So it was really it's a good experience for him. I think he's really excited about all of the about being out there. And Carrie,
where is he right now? Where is he right now?
Sam's home. He's in Foxborough, Massachusetts. He wanted to be out here, but he just had kind of a cold, and we just felt it. His parents felt it was better to be there. But I just want to say also, the support. Sam is a really amazing kid, and Kerry works with the Boston Bruins and the Boston Bruins Foundation. So it's a perfect example of how much he touches people's hearts. Some of the players got to know him. They love him. And genuinely, when they know that he's there, the whole locker room talks, oh, Sam's at the game. They've been very, very supportive in many, many ways, and through Kerry. And so many people have done that. And we hope that this film gains lots more supporters, because we're entering a phase of very expensive clinical drug trials, lots more research to do. And if everybody can follow the lead that the Boston Bruins organization has, we'll be in good shape.
And I'm glad you mentioned that, because I was going to follow up with Carrie. Carrie, you're with the Boston Bruins. Tell everybody what you do there and why you felt that the Bruins need to be involved in this. Because I've been covering pro sports for 3 decades. They get hit up with tons of charities. Why did this one touch you?
You meet Sam and you love Sam. We met Sam, I think it was in 2005 at a Garth Brooks Foundation event where they honored Sam that night. And you fall in love with him, his spirit and his passion and just everything about him. He's so, he comes down to the locker room and he's just, being active with the players. And I remember one day, it was after one game and it was a bad loss. And our captain, Zdeno Chara, who is 6'9" and the tallest player in the NHL ever, he had a bad game and Sam just looks up to him. He's like, "You're still my hero." And Z says, "You're my hero, Sam, and you always will be." And it's just things like that. And
That's cool.
That's cool.
Yeah, and he's friends with so many players, and they keep in touch with him one-on-one, and they see him, and everyone loves him, and he's so contagious, and just from the employees to, he knows his Boston sports and his college sports, so don't get him started there, so he won't hold back. He's a great kid, and I've been lucky enough to see him, since 2005, and when they started the band in the basement of, the house, and then now he's made the marching band at school, and then the Eagle Scouts. So I've been really lucky to be close with everyone, and it's fun. Now he's at that phase. When I first met him, he was, younger, and the big hug when he'd see you, and then he's kind of getting a teenager, and it's like, hey, yeah, it's that hug. But so it's funny watching him. I'm like, wow. So it's been fun. He's a great kid.
Awesome.
I love the family.
We got about 5 more minutes. Unless y'all want to keep going, we'll go a little bit longer, but I'm not going to hold you too long. I don't want to put that on y'all. Jill's got one more question, and then we can wrap this up. Jill, go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to ask Audrey, how has Sam's peers embraced him as he's, become older? When kids are younger, they don't notice the imperfections of other children as they get older. We've gone through it. What has Sam gone through?
There's a wonderful scene in the movie, I think Sean can attest to this because he was there, that says it all. Do you want to...
The math scene?
The graduation.
Oh, yeah. Sam is in graduation, and he gets a lot of awards and things in graduation. Then he gets one last award, and he comes back to sit down, and the whole place stands up with this standing ovation. All the kids in his class and all the audience, and it's not a feel sorry for you standing ovation. It's like, I'm proud to know that you're my buddy. And then all of a sudden there's this shot, and there's this beautiful girl actually sitting next to him, and she starts talking to him and smiling kind of sheepishly, and then he's walking around his school with all his awards, and everyone's high-fiving him, and he's just part of the school.
Yeah, they really embrace him.
They embrace him incredibly.
And it's his personality. It's, and his parents were looking on so proud, like this typical parents that are just so proud of their son. So he's been very lucky. He lives in a great place. He's got wonderful friends. He's very popular, very active, and one of the themes in the movie in this film is that if he wants to really do something, he finds a way to do it. He doesn't let progeria stop him.
And I really appreciate y'all being on. Congratulations on the film. Thanks for doing your first ever Google Hangout with us. I mean, that's an honor. We are really we feel honored that y'all came on. I mean, folks, these are Academy Award winning nominees, Emmy Award winners, Sundance Film Festival. What do you want to close with? What do you want to say? What do you want to say to the audience out there? You can talk about the film, about directing, life. It's an open question. Go for it.
Yeah, well, I think it'll still stick with the film. I think we've been living and breathing the film with the audiences here, and I just really encourage people to check it out in the film festivals that they might hear about from now until up into the fall, and then really check out the program. And then I think it really connects with anybody who thinks anything about why am I here, what do I want to do out of my life. It made us think about that as individuals, as parents, as humans, and I think it just gives you're a better person for knowing Sam and his family, and I think that's how everybody will walk out of the theater.
Yeah, and I think you should. And you should follow the Progeria Research Foundation, because they'll keep telling you where it's going to play, and they'll be updating you as to like when the release date is actually going to be on HBO, and I'm sure you'll be reading about it in the newspapers and stuff. But they're the people that are going to be kind of tweeting and letting people know what's going on with the film and Sam, and I think it's going to be a really nice build-up and a cool thing to follow. And it's going to be playing all over in festivals, especially on the East Coast, especially in the Boston area. So I would say come and check it out, especially in a big movie theater. It feels really different and really cool.
Okay. Audrey?
Oh, thank you for giving us this opportunity. ProgeriaResearch.org, also Facebook. Twitter is at Progeria. The film is on the hashtag Life According to Sam. And I just want to thank everybody for listening in, and I hope that you all join in and get as caught up in this as all the people have that have seen this film over this course of this week at Sundance.
Awesome. Thanks for being on the show, and everybody have a great evening, and appreciate everyone watching the show. We're going to close it off air, and we'll just say thanks out the air here in a minute. Y'all just stay on. Thank you, everybody.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.